Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Sirius. I play a Warlock in World of Warcraft, but today I'm making a Diablo video. Now, by no means do I claim to be a Diablo expert. This build is kicking ass, though. I'm clearing pit 120s. I could probably push higher than that. Tier 12 bosses flop really fast. And I'm not really cluttering my screen with annoying graphics like Apocalypse does. On top of that, I'm enjoying the class fantasy of using shadow damage and launching chains. It kind of reminds me of Pinhead from Hellraiser. If you don't know what that is, you could YouTube it. He's a demon who uses meat hooks and chains to rip people apart. Uh, so watch at your own risk. Uh, I'm making this video to share my progress and hoping smarter people than me find ways to make this build even better. I'm also not seeing this build anywhere else on the internet. Like, I've gone to Maxroll and other websites that have a lot of different builds, and surprisingly, this one's just like non-existent anywhere. While I explain how this build works, like in a summary, I'm gonna play a clip of a 110 pit. These are super chill, very relaxing to play. Once you get into the 120 pits, the affixes and trying to stay out of the things on the ground become way more annoying. But the 110 pits, you can just see they're cake, very easy and relaxing. So the chains are linking between you and enemies and between your multiple greater demons that all spawn at the same time with a single button press. The chains are applying slow and vulnerable to everything. They're exploding constantly. You're applying Hex on hit, which with this build stacks up to 4. The stacks of Hex increase the amount of damage that you do to each target. It's also echoing that damage out to every other monster that's hexed, which is everyone. And it's also, those Hex stacks are constantly giving you max crit chance at the same time. So while I talk about the rotation, here's a clip of a 120 pit, just so you can compare it to the 110. A significant difference in monster health and not standing and stuff in the ground. Uh, it's a really big difference between a 110 and a 120. So I wanted to share this clip so you guys could see like what you're dealing with. So the rotation is pretty much, you just hold down the Umbral Chains button. You don't let it go. Every 10 seconds you press Command Valak to summon all of your demons, and you press Sigil of Chaos to do more damage, and you press them together every 10 seconds. Command Valak, Sigil of Chaos, go back to holding chains down. If you're fighting a difficult rare or a boss, you can press Apocalypse for massive damage in the trillions. And then after that spike, you'll deal 100% additional damage for 6 seconds afterwards. Then you can kind of kite, because the Apocalypse in this build acts like mines on the ground, and it puts a bunch of them down in a small grouping of an area. But you can still kite the boss or rare over more mines, and it'll keep doing trillions of damage while you're doing 100% damage to them for 6 seconds after each mine goes off. So you just kind of kite them through it. One final clip for you guys. This is the last boss of an Infernal Horde. I don't really know what boss to show off for you guys, but they all pretty much die instantly unless you're fighting Mephisto or whatever. But you can see, he just kind of flops. So at this point, if you're not interested in how all this works, you just want to play it, you can just follow the build planner that'll link in the description. Just copy what I did and run with it. You'll be fine. Remember that you just want to hit Command Valak and Sigil of Chaos once every 10 seconds and just hold in your chains ability. You'll be fine. For those that want to learn more about this and help me make it better, please keep listening. Let's start talking about Overpower. So for a Warlock class, Overpower just acts like a buff. You can get 4 stacks of Overpower by default. Each one's going to increase your damage by 15%. without any modifiers or anything like that. So by default, without this necklace on, you get your 4 stacks of Overpower. Command Warlock is going to increase your maximum Overpower by 4. So that brings you up to 8 Overpower. When you activate this ability, which you'll be doing once every 10 seconds, it's going to overfill your Overpower by 2. So you get your 4, it increases it by 4, and it's going to overfill it by 2. So you're going to have 10 stacks of Overpower every 10 seconds. But when you put on the unique necklace, those benefits double. So now Valak's going to increase your maximum Overpower by 8, and when you press the button, it's going to overfill it by 4. That brings you up to 16 stacks of Overpower that you'll get every 10 seconds. But wait, there's also an aspect too. So this aspect is going to also increase your Overpower by 4 when you're fortified, which you should always be fortified. So you're always going to get those extra 4. So now, every 10 seconds, you press Command Valak, you get 20 stacks of Overpower. You're always going to be hovering around 18 to 20. Pretty much always at 20. So now what we do is we go all in on damage per Overpower stack. You're going to temper this on your gear, it's going to be found in your Paragon, and it's going to be found in your Soul Shard. So if you look at my gear, right here I've got 20% damage per Overpower stack. So what I do is I temper that on, I keep tempering it until it becomes a greater affix, and then I masterwork my gear until that one gets chosen. And now you've got 20% per damage per Overpower stack. So 20 stacks, that's 400% damage just coming from this one item. And then what we do is we put it on our necklace, on our ring, on our offhand. All of this adds up to a substantial boost in damage. You're also going to find nodes in your Paragon Board. They're going to boost your damage per Overpower stack. And then you're also going to find it in your Soul Shard. So I feel like that's what we should talk about next, Soul Shard. So for the Soul Shard, we go with Ritualist. And what that's going to do is make your skills deal 3.5% damage per stack of Overpower. Another buff. So multiply that by 20. So, again, it's going to come from the Paragon Board as well. For now, we're just going to shelf Overpower. I think we're done talking about it. But that's pretty much, you're going to press your Command Demon button once every 10 seconds. You're going to get 20 stacks of Overpower. And as long as you keep stacking damage per Overpower, you're going to do a lot more damage. So, talking about the Soul Shard. With at least 4 stacks of Overpower, again, you're going to have 20. Your skills are going to apply Hex on hit. And that's going to be super important because when you look at our Abyssal Fragment, Hex is stacking up to 4 times. And what's going to happen is you're rapid fire hitting people so fast that everyone's going to instantly have 4 stacks of Hex on them. And then what happens is when it hits 4 stacks, it's going to pause for 4 seconds. And 50% of the damage that you do to the target over those 4 seconds is going to echo out to everyone else that has Hex on them. At that point, Hex will fall off the target, but you're doing damage so fast, they'll instantly have 4 more stacks again. Again, 4 seconds of 50% of the damage you do is about to echo to everyone else. And it just continues like that. As you can see from the tooltip, Hex per stack is increasing the damage that's taken by 206%. In addition to that, it's not only a flat damage buff, but we're also imprinting an aspect that increases your critical strike chance against an enemy by up to 20%, I'm only at 19.5, per stack. So imagine if you have 4 stacks of Hex on an enemy by 19.5%, that's going to put you up to 78% crit chance on everyone all the time. That means you only very minorly need to worry about critical strike chance on your gear, which I'm getting from my helmet and my ring. Between my helmet, my ring, and the hex stacks, I have 100% crit, and for the rest of my gear, I can worry about just focusing on damage modifiers, crit damage modifiers, vulnerability damage modifiers, all damage modifiers. It makes it really easy to stack your damage that way. Next, let's take a second to talk about the charms. So, the charms, you're going to be running the chains set. And I'd like to go through this in reverse. Let's talk about the 5 set, then the 3 set, then the 2 set. So the 5 set says when you summon your demon, which we'll be doing once every 10 seconds, you're going to get all of your soul shard demons at once, which I believe there's 4, and they're all listed under the 2 set. So you're going to get all 4 demons at the same time. And you're also going to do 200% more damage for 10 seconds. In addition to that, the summoning your demons the cost is gonna get reduced by 35%, which just makes it easier to summon every 10 seconds. So then for each of those 4 demons that are up, if we look at the 3 set, for each of those 4 demons, you're gonna getting an 8.5% damage reduction for each one of them that are up. And then if we look at the 2 set, one of your demons is increasing your damage per active demon summon. So it's like 30% times 4. Your next demon is increasing your movement speed and attack speed by 25%. The next one's running around executing low health enemies. And then the last one's increasing your dominance generation, so it makes it easier to keep summoning your demon. So another really important reason to have all these demons up at the same time, on top of everything else that it's giving you, is we are running this unique weapon, which makes Umbral Chains gain the Epicenter variant for free. And if we look to see what that does, the Epicenter variant is creating chains that not only link back to you, but additionally a chain is created between you and each one of your greater demons. So now you're not only throwing chains at enemies, they're linking back to you, but you're also throwing chains between each one of your greater demons, and those are causing damage and exploding as well. Alright, so let's talk about the talents real quick. I'm just going to fly through these and explain why each one's beneficial. So the first one we're going to talk about is Doom. And the important part about this one is that when you're never casting Doom, you never have a reason to generate Wrath. You're always going to have max Wrath. Technically, you don't even have to put Doom on your bars. I just haven't found a better way to set up my bars yet, or what I would replace it with. Doom does not need to be on my bars. I'm never pressing it. What happens is whenever you kill a hexed enemy, which everyone will be hexed all the time with this build, Doom is going to do damage to another enemy. On top of that, when Doom pops and does damage to someone else, it's going to help generate Wrath. And it's also going to echo 10% of that damage to all other nearby hexed enemies. So this talent point is just passive damage that's just going to come from killing nearby enemies. If we move a little further down, we've got Umbral Chains. Of course, you're going to max this one out. And you're going to pick the Chain Burst segment, so that those chains are going to explode, do more damage, and then your weapon unique is going to give you the Epicenter variant for free. So you're technically getting both of these. For the side upgrades, we're going to choose the one where it knocks back the enemy. It keeps them away from you. It's also going to deal 50% more damage to the person that you're hitting. That helps a lot with your single target damage. On this side of it, we're going to go with the Umbral Chains, deals 20% damage to hexed enemies. All of the enemies are going to be hexed. We're always going to be doing 20% more damage with this point. If we go a little further down, I'm only have 1 point in Nether Step because I have so much ranks to Occult and Abyss skills. It brings that all the way up to 19. I don't know whether it's better to take some of these points from Dark Prison. That's where I put my excess points, and move them over here. It doesn't really matter. For the side upgrades for another step, I like having 2 charges on it. But you could take the 60% damage reduction, and then I like having the movement speed as well. If I'm fighting a boss or someone who is tough, I'll take a point out of Dark Prison and move it to this one, so I'll have 3 seconds of immunity. So while my chains are doing damage, I can kind of just be immune and just walk through any damage dealing abilities while being immune. Over here, Dark Prison, I mean, every Warlock, if you're playing a Warlock, is going to understand this one, but you run Dark Prison with the Chain Aura. It's going to reduce the damage that you take from enemies around you, slow people that are inside the chains. It's going to weaken enemies that are in the chains, and then those enemies inside are going to fortify you, which is really important for those additional overpower stacks that you're going to get from the aspect. And then you activate this with the runes that you put on your gear. So this, again, does not go on your bar, just activated by the runes. We go down here to Sigil of Chaos. The important thing about this, not only is it extra damage that you get to do, it's going to send out these smoke tendrils that are going to pierce through hexed enemies. And again, everyone is hexed, so it's going to pierce through everyone and just do extra damage. In addition to that, we also have a Paragon node that causes us to do more damage after using a Sigil ability, which is really the real reason that we're using this, is for the damage buff that we get from that. The damage that it does itself is nice too, but we ourselves do more damage every time we pop this for 10 seconds. So that's why we match it up with our demon, and we're going to hit this every 10 seconds. Again, we take the Sigil of Smoke variant so that the smoke will pierce through hexed enemies and it'll do shadow damage. And then there's a 20% chance to trigger the effect on them again. And neither of these are useful at all, so I don't take either of those. The final one that we're going to take is Apocalypse. Now this one's really good for single target damage. So we're going to go with the Minefield variant. It's going to do Abyss damage. It's going to put down a field of mines on the ground. Those mines are going to do trillions of damage when the enemy walks over each one of them. There's going to be a bunch of mines on the ground. We also deal 25% increased damage the closer enemies are to the center of the Apocalypse when you drop it down. And the most important part is that the boss is not going to die tripping over a mine. He's going to take a lot of damage, but it says 2 seconds, but it lasts 200% longer against hexed enemies. So for 6 seconds, you're going to do 100% extra damage to the boss or rare that you're fighting. That's the most important. And then what you do is you drop the Apocalypse on the enemy, you pump them for 6 seconds, and then you kind of sidestep and walk around and make them hit another mine. That's another 100% damage for 6 seconds. Just make them keep tripping over those mines and continue to do big damage and down the boss really fast. So that's it for the skill tree. I guess we can touch on Paragon really fast. A lot of this you'll just get in the planner. In the first one, I'm going with Destruction. So each stack of Hex is going to increase the damage that you're doing to enemies. Over here, we're running with, you're going to gain 90% increased damage for 15 seconds after casting your Sigil skill. And your Greater Demons are now to count as 10 kills when dying within the Sigil. I only care about the damage increase every time we're popping a Sigil, so that's why we're going to press it like every 10-15 seconds. In addition to that one, we're running Abyssal. That's going to increase the damage that you're doing to vulnerable enemies by 15%, and everyone's always going to be vulnerable because of one of the aspects on our gear, which we'll touch on soon. Everyone's going to be vulnerable all the time. Then we run up here, applying Hex or Vulnerable, which you're going to be doing both, to enemies permanently reduces the damage they deal to you by 25%. They're also going to take 75% more damage from you. Over here, dealing damage to a vulnerable target will increase the damage you do to them up to 18%. Again, everyone's going to be vulnerable all the time. Over here, we have Dominion. Spend Dominance to summon a demon, which we're going to be doing every 10 seconds. Reduces the wrath cost of your demonology skills by 50%. Don't care about that. We're not using wrath demonology skills with wrath. But it increases all of your damage by 80% for 12 seconds. That's the part that we care about. So you're going to be summoning a demon every 10 seconds. You're going to do 80% more damage. Over here, we have the Wrath glyph. Now, this one I've tried playing without. This is what gives us unlimited Wrath. You take this off, your build's not as good. This is what allows you to just hold down the chains button the whole time you're playing. It sounds silly. Skills that critically strike generate 1 Wrath. Thing is, everything we do is going to crit non-stop, and you will have unlimited Wrath. You will find it very difficult to even bring your Wrath down to 75% of max. Maybe even 80. It's going to stay almost completely filled all the time because of this glyph. In addition to that, the bonuses around it are also increasing your critical strike damage. Really nice to have for a 100% crit build. Finally, let's see our last one. All of our skills are going to do 100% more damage. While you have Overpower, we're always going to have Overpower stacks. When you lose a stack, you're either going to gain 2 stacks or lose an additional stack. Doesn't really matter how much you're gaining or losing, because again, you're going to have 20 stacks every time you summon your demon every 10 seconds. It's really just there for the damage. And then finally, your skills are going to do increased damage when you have any Overpower. Alright, last thing to go over, gear. So we're running Era Perdition. It's going to give us some crit chance to make sure we're at 100% crit. Don't really care about the lucky hit. The movement speed's nice. The core skills is nice because that's Umbral Chains. And it also makes you do 80% more damage. Over here we're running Tyrell's Might, so that way we can get it's very good defensively. And we're also running the Circa runes in it. You're attacking so fast that you're going to have an entire pack of wolves with you all the time, and they're going to be freezing people and spreading more vulnerable, and not that you really need them to spread the vulnerable. They're really just there as a distraction and to freeze people. The next one we're going to be running is super important. This is what's giving us the majority, 78% I think it was, of our crit chance, because everything's always going to have 4 stacks of Hex on it all the time. Down here, I'm running Temerity because I like having the extra shield. The thing with this is you need a little bit of life on hit to make this work. Life on hit, or the next aspect you'll see on my boots, are also a good one. But this is going to give you a barrier for your entire health pool. And you're going to have it like all the time. So it's pretty nice. It's effectively like doubling your health. And I'm running at 44,000 health. So that would put me at 88. And then also I'm running Nagu Prid runes. So that's going to give you a bunch of uptime on the Dark Prison that'll circle around you. The boots. Alright, so the boots... I originally took this because I had a lot of gear that had life on hit. And then when I redid my build, I lost a lot of that. I only have it on my offhand now. It's the only piece of gear with life on hit. But we're rapid firing abilities so fast the healing that you get from this is really, really nice for giving you your barrier. What I did is, because you can get a secondary aspect on your necklace, I just kept rolling it until I got any aspect that I needed. Anything that was absolutely needed for my build. And as soon as I got something that was needed for my build, which happened to be the aspect that I had on my boots, so I replaced the aspect on my boots with this one just to get more healing. Not super critical. If you have life on hit, it can make up for this one. For the weapon, the Scourge of Duriel, super important so that your Umbral Chains are linking back to you and also linking to each one of your greater demons that you have up all the time. Again, you can see a lot of the stats that I have on my gear are all critical strike chance, damage, max life, occult skills, core skills, all damage modifiers. You're going to see that across the board on all my gear. For the necklace, this one is super critical. So this is the one that's doubling all of your demons' bonuses. This is what's getting you all the way up to 16 stacks of Overpower every time you press the button. Super important. It's also the Ritualist Fragment as well. The Ritualist Fragment, if we look at it, why that's important, it's this one right here. This one, if you take the necklace off, you're only going to do 25% of the damage that you do is going to echo out to other people. But with the necklace, 50% of the damage you do to an enemy is going to echo out to all the people. So it's super important to have. The other aspect that I got on here is also a critical aspect. You need this somewhere on your build. This was on my boots until I got it on the necklace, and then I swapped the boots. But what this is saying is that hexed enemies, and every enemy is going to be hexed, will become slowed for 3 seconds when you make them vulnerable. That doesn't happen. Or they become vulnerable for 3 seconds when you slow them. And your chains are constantly slowing. They apply slow. So your chains are applying slow to hexed enemies. That makes every enemy vulnerable 100% of the time that you're doing damage to them. Super critical that you get this aspect somewhere on your gear. The next one is the one that increases our Overpower by 4 more stacks when we're fortified. We're always going to be fortified as long as you have the chains around you. The Ring of Starless Skies is nice. Just the attack speed was a big reason that I wanted this. The critical strike chance helped me stay at the 100%. Don't really care about the lucky hit, but the +3 to core skills is nice because that's Umbral Chains. I put on there the damage per Overpower stack, of course. And then as we're spending our primary resource, we're be able to spam that button even harder because it'll the resource cost will go down and the damage will go up to 50%. So it's a really nice damage modifier as well. And then finally, I put on there that your Abyss skills deal increased damage based on not hitting you in the last 2 seconds. So this one I felt like was one of the nicer ones to have. It's up for debate, but I couldn't really think of one that would do more damage than this one. Just to recap on stats again, anywhere where I get a choice, of course you don't get a choice on the Mythic Uniques, but on my gloves, I'm running Willpower, all damage, critical damage modifiers, +4 to core skills is nice. Down here on my boots, occult skills, that's going to be all of your skills. That's nice to have. Movement speed, max life, willpower. Anywhere where I could find it, I've got critical strike damage multipliers, max life, willpower, weapon damage. I like to run diamonds in my jewelry. for the resistance, and then amethyst in the weapons for the shadow damage, and then the willpower gems for armor, for whatever you don't take the runes in. Oh, I also just want to say it one more time. The attack speed, I got attack speed on my weapon and on my ring. I feel like I could even have more attack speed because it's literally impossible with this build to run out of primary resource. As you can see here, like when I pop my things, I'm just holding in my chains button and I'm never going to run out of wrath. I mean, it's sitting at like 90% the whole time. I'm just holding in the button and it's never going to run out. So the more attack speed you can get, the better. Maybe even running a little more attack speed on the build would be nice, just to get that damage out even faster. That's all I can think of, guys. Leave me a message in the comments if you guys have any tips or ideas on how I could make this thing do even more damage. Let me know if you've tried it out, if you like it. I would love to hear feedback from everyone and what works and doesn't work for you. So I also hope this helps someone out, because this seems to be my favorite Warlock build. I started off trying claws in the beginning. Wasn't too thrilled with damage on that one. I went to Apocalypse for a while, got tired of not being able to see my whole screen. I did Lunatic for a little bit, but in the end, I wanted something. I'm an Affliction Warlock main in World of Warcraft. I wanted to do shadow damage, so I needed a way to make that happen, and this is the best way I could find to do shadow damage on the Warlock. So that's all I have, guys. I hope you enjoy. Take care.